You are listening to the Banker's Secret Podcast, the Canadian guide to create a significant and positive impact on the financial success and everyday quality of life for businesses, individuals, and families. Building sustainable and dependable wealth, your host Glen Zacher has been serving Canadians since 2004.
This is Talk to the Experts, and we're joined by McGuire Financial. So Glen Zacher is with us, CEO and founder. And in 2 seconds, we'll be joined by Mr. Nash. We're going to talk to you about the infinite banking concept. And I just want you to know this right up front, because the last sort of seminar that they held, boot camp that they held, was so full. This is kind of one of these growing phenomena where the first time you hear it, you go, nah. And then the second and third time you hear it, you go, well, that's kind of interesting. And then the 10th time you hear it, you go, how come I'm not there already? And that's exactly what's going on. And we're going to tell you a little bit about that. Mr. Nash also joins us. He is the man responsible for this. He is the man that I'm sure a whole swack of people, when he said, hey, I got a plan, looked at him and said, ooh, okay. Because they weren't sure he was sane either. But now that more and more people are looking at this, they're going, well, why wouldn't this be a good idea? But we should just give people a Coles Notes version of what the infinite banking concept actually is. Mr. Nash, you should do that.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Because you're the guy.
This is an understanding that you can become your own banker through the use of dividend pay and whole life insurance with a mutual company. That when you understand this concept here, you can finance all the stuff that you do in life through this mechanism. You got to learn to think long range. This can't be done overnight. When I conceived of all this, I owed lots of money because I was thinking and behaving the way the rest of the financial world works, i.e. OPM, other people's money. And then I discovered that I could get the money at very favorable rates, and the only thing that limited how much as I could get to was the same thing they ask you down at the bank when you ask them how big a check can you write. And I saw that if I would up my premiums big time, then that would give me access to money that I could control totally, and that from then on I could learn to finance everything myself. And in the process, I would learn to make what the banks and finance companies were making off of me tax-free. And so this changes life big time, Leslie. My wife and I have not seen the bank in over 20 years.
Now, Mr. Nash, you were saying right at the beginning that this is a long-term. Anybody who thinks this is a get-quick-rich plan, it's not it. This is a long-term, and you become your own banker. And is this sustainable? People need to know that. Is this sustainable?
No, by all means, it's sustainable. That's just it. All the other things out there that have been going on, they're not sustainable. The entire world, Leslie, is in the worst financial condition of all time.
Yes. Because
of the deception that's been going on out there in the banking world. Surely everybody must be aware of the mess that is going on in the financial world, that something is fundamentally wrong with what's been going on. And this entire course and the books that I've written explain all this stuff very well.
Now, you have written 2 books, Becoming Your Own Banker and Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. Now, Glen, you have taken this, you've brought this to our city, to our province. What is it that you see that others have yet to see?
You know, we discovered a process probably about 5 years ago. We had a call from a business colleague from the U.S. and shared this kind of amazing concept, and we thought, well, we just had to be there, and we were, and learned everything that we could and brought it back to Canada. And now we have boot camps, so we teach people this all across Canada. We're licensed from Ontario all the way through BC, and so through boot camps and, personal meetings and things like that, we show our clients how to create and control their own banking system. And what we've learned is banking's a process. It's not a product. And Nelson's taught us well here, and we've met Nelson here. Good morning, Nelson.
Glenn, how's it going? Good to talk with you.
So we met Nelson 2-3 years back, and what we learned is because it's not a product, we finance everything that we buy. You either pay interest or you give it up. Mm-hmm. And so we were just enlightened, in terms of the concept and the strategy, and so now we empower people to take financial control of their own life.
Now, Mr. Nash, when you look at that, are you allowed to have insurance plans to any denomination you want?
Yes, you pretty well determine what's to be done, but there are limits as to how much the life insurance company will write on any one particular person. But you remember, Leslie, that I have 3 children, 10 grandchildren, and now I have 4 great-grands and a 5th one on the way. And so I had policies on all these people big time. They're just part of the system. But the flexibility that this gives you is it's kind of beyond imagination for most people. But everything that we do is done this way, and I have knowledge personally of lots of people all over the U.S. and now Canada that they'll never see a bank again in their life. Now, checking account for convenience sake, Leslie, that's not necessary, of course, but look, banks don't make money off of checking accounts. They make money off of loans.
Right, so if you're getting a loan for your car, your home, or what have you, why would you suggest somebody go?
Well, it's absolutely necessary, Leslie, because this is a different thought process from the way that most people think, and so you've got to have a coach. And look, I've met extraordinary people all over the continent here and other foreign countries too. And there are no better coaches than the McGuire Group. These guys are awesome. So without a coach, your chances of getting this down cold and practicing it are not very good because you got to change the thought process of the way most people think.
All right.
And so it's an educational process that we've got to go through with to learn how to reprogram our brains as it relates to financial stuff.
And it's a 12-hour step-by-step education on how to become your own banker. We're going to do multiple case studies and show our attendees how to implement that, the functionality of that. It's easy to implement. We have strategies to kind of keep you up and running quickly. Just one of the things that our attendees will learn in the course will be how to build over $27,000 inside of a banking system just by buying one $15,000 car. You'll have the cash and the car as well. How does that sound?
Well, Mr. Nash, more and more people must be discovering the practicality, not only the practicality of infinite banking, but sort of the logistics, right? It's how A goes to B, goes to C, goes to D, and that it's not as, once they have a coach, it's not as sort of odd as it first sounds.
Oh, not at all. To the contrary, the whole process is ridiculously simple when you think it through. But the problem is that there's just not a whole lot of thinking that goes on in the financial world. It's mostly a knee-jerk reaction of some kind, and that's what has caused the atrocious condition around the entire world. It's because of fallacious thinking as it relates to money. That the banking function should be held at the you and me level totally, because when you do it this way through dividend paying whole life insurance, the insurance companies cannot inflate. Central banks do. They lend money that doesn't exist, and that is fraud, but most folks don't understand that. Well, the solution to all the problem out there is to get the banking equation at the you and me level. And these guys at McGuire understand this perfectly. Like I say, they're awesome. So please, people who are listening, you have an opportunity of a lifetime here that will change your life forever.
Now, you can go online at www.mcguirefinancial.ca, but what you need, if you're listening to these gentlemen, is that you need a coach, because it's a paradigm shift. And if you don't make the paradigm shift, you'll go, well, sounds odd. And you want to see the practicality, because most of us look at money as some, dare I say it, godly thing, and it's not. And it's not. That's what you're going to learn at this boot camp. So give the boot camp a shout. 462-1289, 462-1289.
Well, one of the things that Nelson taught us about the infinite banking concept is that it creates a safe and secure place for wealth to reside. I believe that's your quote, Nelson. And
that's it.
More importantly, it gives you maximum control and the use and the liquidity of your money.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what really kind of, charged us up, and here's where we are today.
All right, gentlemen.
Well, I can write things like the book there, and I can speak and so forth, but unless I have someone who reads it or somebody who attends a seminar or sponsors a seminar, I'm nothing. So it takes two to tango. So I've got to throw it back to you that you guys are the cue to all this, not me.
Well, speaking of taking two to tango, Mr. Dwayne Burnell is about to join us. Dwayne, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing this morning?
Pretty darn fine, sir. Pretty darn fine.
Morning, Dwayne.
Now, this is the gentleman who wrote Financial Peace of Mind and Financial Independence for the 21st Century. Now, Dwayne, what was your inspiration for this? What made you do this?
My inspiration is the gentleman you were just speaking with, Mr. Nelson Nash. And he inspired me and got me going and helping clients. And then we just went from there. And then in my books, Mr. Nelson Nash wrote the foreword of my first book and has back to the book endorsement of the second one. So it's a tight-knit community.
So, Dwayne, how exactly is it that you're creating a banking system?
It's essentially what Mr. Nash talks about and what McGuire Financial talks about, in utilizing the insurance world and creating liquid use and control of your capital, and getting really in control of your money, and that includes financing, because as Nelson Nash says, is you finance everything you buy.
Now, you have a long history in the world of insurance. So when people say to you, well, what does that mean? What do you tell them?
Well, in the sense of, our history is, Nelson Nash is, a great history. We have, some, industry and the experience in that sense. But in the sense of looking at where we put our money for the short term or long term, and to escape the volatility and unpredictability and absolutely no control of the stock market, we get in control by utilizing the insurance world, the whole life insurance policies, and really getting control, so that as we have expected events such as college and maybe new cars and things like that, we have also unexpected events. And where do you get the money for those? If there's a disability or you need a new roof, new windows, where do you get that money? And so do you, especially for self-employed folks, going to the bank or your normal financial institution, it's quite a dramatic process in the sense of, your credit scores, your job history, and so forth. And many people are able to do that, and they're great citizens in repaying, but we're put in such hoops in order to get our own capital back, or even get some capital in order to have our normal lives. And utilizing the infinite banking concept that Mr. Nash outlined and we just expound on is just super for the consumer, and also the tax savings. So the advantages are just the list goes on, and that's what McGuire Financial in their boot camp really talks about, in the sense of understanding what's involved, how it benefits you, and protects your family. So I encourage everybody to attend that boot camp. If nothing else, they're going to learn a lot.
Hey, Mr. or Dwayne, because, I'll call you Dwayne, you mentioned just at the beginning, just a brief minute, you talked about businesses. Are you telling me that you think that this would be a great avenue for business owners?
Absolutely. In fact, for business owners, it's even, more advantageous. Again, what's the problem with business typically is obtaining capital. And for business owners, you've got a two-edged sword. You've got their business life and you've got their financial life, and the two are intertwined. And so, again, it's access to capital. If you can create a system utilizing the infinite banking concept, really take advantage of that capital in both the personal and business aspect.
So you would be able, Dwayne, like when you take a look at the volatility of markets, et cetera, and banking north and south of the border, you would think that a lot of businesses that are not able to go forward as they might like is because they can't get their hands on their own money.
That's exactly right. You've got it, tied up in Canada in RRSPs and other instruments that have, that what the financial community has done such a great job in promoting, going, hey, put your money over here, and if you're 35 years old, hey, you won't need it for 30 years and just give it to us. Well, we need that money over and over for the next 30 years, from 35 to 65, and here we're taught not to use our own money, but then again, go to the financial institution, pay them interest, trying to qualify it on structured payments so that, they're looking after our money when we turn 65. And two things that happen. One, we have no clue what that money is going to be worth, and then we have no access to it. So utilizing the infinite banking concept is what Mr. Nash and Nash says, is that we get control of our capital, start using it for our own means, and grow our wealth in control and in a tax-favored environment. So it just gets better and better as you go along.
Would I be correct in assuming or saying that if we allow people, especially in business, and small business, of course, is the backbone of our country, if you were to allow people to have more access to the money that they themselves grow, that the business would become stronger, as would their personal life, because they're invested in the infinite banking concept?
I would say so. Again, it comes down to the business owner and the consumer. You have to be responsible with your money. This is not a magic money tree. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is control of your money. And if you borrow money, you have to pay it back. So whether you borrow it from a normal financial institution or if you borrow it from your own system, utilizing the infinite banking concept, as long as you're responsible with your money and prudent, then you're going to grow your wealth in a controlled environment and be much more advantageous to yourself compared to the other financial institutions.
It doesn't, as far as banking is concerned, it doesn't matter all that much who the insured is. There are three characters, Leslie. There's the owner of the policy. There is the beneficiary. Let's see, what's the other one? But anyway, what you want to do is own the policy for banking purposes.
What's that, Dwayne?
The third, like I said, as Nelson Nash has taught us, the three characters of the play is the owner and the insured, and then the beneficiary, and then the insurance company.
Right. Yeah, the insurance company is nothing but the administrator is what it amounts to. People just need some education. That's all. And these guys, like I told you, they're awesome in their education ability. I'm just blown away with what they're doing.
People, when the market goes down, they blame somebody else. And really, if you want to take responsibility for your finances, truly responsible, you've got to get educated. And the McGuire Group is putting on an education event. Education is not free. You pay to go to class. And then what you do with that knowledge is up to you. So if you want to be accountable and responsible for your money, get some education, pay for the education, and then make your own decisions from there.
Terrific. Dwayne and Mr. Nash, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Nelson. Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks.
Yeah, joy to be with you. Thank you.
Talk soon.
All right, you all take care.